Alright, recording. First of all, what's your name and what course did you do when you were at uni?
My name's Coyote Damali, and the course I did was psychology here at MMU Cheshire.
And what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2013.
And what grade did you graduate with?
I got a first class honours.
Do you think the grade you got will affect you finding? Did it affect you finding employment after university?
I think grades are important on the surface. Superficially they're important, but I think experience is even more important. It's just like saying that, right? It's like you wanting to be in a relationship with somebody just because they're good looking, but their experience and what they actually bring to the table is actually far more important. That's the same thing it is like when you have your grades. Like, your grades are important on the surface, but what else can you bring to the table? Because anyone can get a first, but not everybody can have the same experience to get that first, if you understand what I mean.
Do you think it comes down to how much effort you put in then, when it comes to finding employment? Yeah,
100%. Like, one of my great role models, Ray Lewis. I love what he says about effort. Effort is that's what it's all about. Effort. Nobody can give you effort. Effort comes from inside. Getting a first, a 2-1, a 2-2, a third. They can come a dime a dozen. But effort, nobody can judge effort. Because at the end of the day, that's between you and you. Effort ain't got nothing to do with nobody else. So I think effort is very important.
Did you find when you were at university that there was a lot of pressure on you to find employment?
Not at all. I think, and I was comfortable with the, if you want to call it pressure, I was comfortable with what we had. I wouldn't say that I needed any more pressure, and I wouldn't say that I wanted anything less. I thought the academic staff and my lecturers did a perfect job. I'm happy with my outcome. I would say that you have to be careful to how much pressure you actually do apply to people, because if you give them too much pressure to get a particular job or go down a particular career, you could be pushing them down a completely wrong avenue, something that they may regret a few years down the line. So for me personally, I was happy with the level of pressure, if you want to call it that, what I received.
Did you take part in any different roles when you were at university, other than your studies?
I got involved in the union, for example, and other aspects of university life from the get-go, literally the day I arrived, because I realised that I had to find a way to get ahead of the person standing right beside me. And one of my ways I did that was by getting involved in literally everything. I worked in the Students' Union shop, I worked in the gym, I was working in the door on the nights out, I was a student ambassador, I was a university brand manager for Camp America, I became vice president of all of the Cheshire societies, I became a part-time officer to eventually becoming vice president of the union and governor of the university. So for me, the whole way along my degree, I made sure I got involved with as many things I can, even being on the committee with a few societies as well.
Do you think it's difficult to find employment without having experience on your CV?
I'll say that it's no different to not having experience in anything else. Like, it's not impossible, but yes, you're at a less advantage than if you did have the experience. Like, I couldn't just walk into Arsenal's training ground and say, hey, Arsene Wenger, I've never played professional football before, but you should sign me up anyway. No, he's not gonna sign me up because I haven't got the experience of playing that top flight football. It's just like you wouldn't necessarily pay a mechanic to fix your car if they got no experience in how to do it. So I think that we're now in a performance-based economy, where it's results that matters. And if you can prove to somebody that you can do something, then you'll put yourself at a massive advantage in somebody who doesn't. So experience is key, I would say.
What advice would you give students studying at the moment for finding employment and getting the best that they can be, in the best that they can be?
My advice for students is that you have to remember that you're in such a fantastic place right now as a student, in a sense that if it is the case of you're thinking about what you're doing now before you go into full-time employment, you need to embrace where you are right now, because when you do begin full-time employment, that's 9 to 5 for potentially the rest of your life. Whereas right now, you might have, 10 hours of lectures a week, 15 hours, maybe a few more hours on top of that to put towards your studying. So you have to really embrace the moment where you're at such an advantage whereby you have the time to, recreate yourself and be the person that you actually do and want to be, I'll say that it doesn't matter, happiness isn't necessarily a destination. Happiness is a path. And it doesn't matter what you do at the end of your degree when you graduate. It doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to do what society tells you to do. You don't have to do what your mum, your dad, or what your friends told you to do. You just got to do whatever makes you happy. You know, happiness isn't the destination. Happiness is the path to get there. So that's what my advice would be for them.
Do you think the fees for the university are too high at the moment?
Yeah, I could argue that I think the university tuition fees are higher. You know, for the cost, like, at the end of the day, graduates now are graduating with what, 30,000, 40,000 worth of debt. You could argue that the value of the degree isn't worth that amount. You know, if you took that same 30 grand, 40 grand and invested it into a business, you might see much more better results. So you can argue that, yes, it is expensive to go to university. But at the same time, we need to remember in the same breath is that university is free at a point of use. The average student didn't go to the bank before they started uni and took out 9 grand and paid for the year. The average student didn't save up to do that. No, you get given a loan which you don't even see, go straight from the bank from the student loans company straight to your institution, university. So university is free at the point of use, and people need to be careful not to, fall down to the trap with the excuse saying that, oh, my tuition fees are too much or too high. Yeah, but you're not actually seeing that, so it is expensive for the value of the degree, but at the same time, university is free at the point of use, and people need to remember that and embrace that.
Do you think, from your experience, there's enough resources given to you to find employment and to do your work and stuff at uni?
I'll say the resources to my work, I was fortunate enough to graduate with a first class honours. I went from a position from clearing to barely scraping through to get to uni to graduate with a first class honours. So you could argue that I may have had the resources and the equipment that I needed to do that. And just because there isn't necessarily the specific resources and equipment there for you, again, you got to use that seed of adversity and use that as a new opportunity to be creative. How else can you do something? How else can you achieve the same task without having the equipment that maybe this uni has? So I was happy, I was satisfied with what we have. And I think that the university does try. I think that lecturers, at the end of the day, they do want the best. They have your best interests at heart. So I think I was fine, but I understand that some people could argue that they haven't got all the resources they need. And for those people, I say that, okay, if the resources aren't there and the university aren't going to provide them, how can you be creative and to use what you do have to your advantage?
And finally, do you think your degree in psychology do you think it matters what degree you do, or do you think just having a degree itself is important? Like, has doing a degree in psychology helped you for your work now?
If your profession that you're aiming for is very, very skills-based or very, very specific, then of course you need to tailor your degree for it. My degree in psychology, you can go into many different avenues, whether it's clinical, criminal, sports, so psychology is almost in anything. Mine was specifically down the sports route. However, I do believe that there are transferable skills you can take from your degree and put them into different avenues in different arenas. So even though I did my psychology degree maybe through a sports avenue, the skills that I've learned and the experiences that I've gained from my degree, I can still transfer them into other paths if I want to. So I don't feel you're necessarily restricted, if you don't feel like you should be.
I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Cheers for that.